Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday morning. I want to welcome everybody on to this morning's call. We got a very, very special guest here today. It is 7:09 a.m. Pacific time. It is 9:09 a.m. Eastern time. Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome, everybody here. Good morning, Rita. How you doing?
Good morning, my brother. Can you hear me?
Oh, man, Rita, that took way too long, man. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, my brother. I had to go back to school to learn how to unmute myself.
I said, Rita,
How you guys doing?
What is this? Oh, man. Well,
Blessed to be alive, my brother. Blessed to be alive.
Well, good morning, Rita. Happy to have you here, man. Happy to have everybody on this call with us this morning. We do have that special guest that we've been talking about for oh so long now. And we also joined by some other very special guests as well. But you guys, before we kick that off, just a couple quick housekeeping items. First and foremost, I want to say congratulations to everybody yesterday. Of the 25 apps that were written yesterday, 95% of them were all level business. So congratulations, everybody. Very little GI that was written yesterday. And I want to say congratulations to everybody that put in an effort to put in some apps. Also, you guys, looking at this report, I got to give a very special shout out to Sean Murphy. He's been doing his thing a lot lately. And he's actually been averaging 3 amps a day being in our outbound unlimited queue. So you guys, he is a perfect example of somebody that is actually executing on a daily basis, making sure that they're doing exactly what they need to do to make sure that they can be able to achieve the goals that they've set for themselves. Now, you guys, just to give you a little bit of a heads up of what that looks like, and this is kind of why I'm so proud of Sean, is because yesterday alone, he was able to connect with 85 people. He spoke to 85 people yesterday, you guys. And what's more incredible is he had 5.5 hours of talk time. And you guys, I got to tell you, this is the number one thing that is relevant when it comes down to being able to sell over the phone successfully. You got to have the talk time. I mean, talk time matters just as much as absolutely anything else. And especially when you guys are trying to make it big over the phone, if you guys are only buying a couple leads and trying to talk to just a few people a day, it's just not going to work out for you. So everybody that's taking advantage of the outbound queue, kudos to you. And definitely for you, Sean, for making sure that you go out there every day and execute at a high level doing your thing. So I definitely want to commend you for your effort yesterday. Also, you guys, another thing moving forward, just as we are right now, we are going to be moving to Zoom permanently to be able to host these morning calls to make sure that everybody's able to be a part of them, to make sure that the audio is crystal clear. We're actually able to get a video for all of the interviews that we're going to be doing moving forward. And in addition to that, I just want to add one last thing. Game night will be tomorrow. Game night will be tomorrow. But that's going to be at 5 o'clock Arizona time, which is going to be at 7 o'clock Eastern. It's going to be 1 hour early. So make sure you guys plug in. It's going to be the same link that you guys just joined right here. So that way we can plug into Zoom. We're going to have our game night. We're going to get everything where it needs to be. And we're going to get you guys trained and ready to roll. And the last thing, and this is probably one of the most important things, you guys, everybody who has had access to the dashboard and they don't have access currently, it's because you have to register your account as a new user. It doesn't cost you anything, nothing like that. You just have to register, set up your email address and your password. So that way you're able to log in yourself under your own account. This is just going to make things just a lot easier for everybody, not having to ask if a password is changed or what's the credentials. You'll create your own username. On that login page, you'll be a big old button that says register. And you're just going to click on that button and go ahead and register. And you'll get instant access, everybody, to go ahead and use the dashboard to do whatever you need to do. Now, with that being said, you guys, I am incredibly honored and excited to have the guests that we're going to be having here today on this morning's call. And just to kind of give us a little bit of an expectation of what's about to happen, I want us all to be on the same page. So this gentleman that we're going to be speaking to today is a very, very successful man. He's been in the insurance business for north of 25 years. He's originally from Rhode Island. He's a Rhode Island native, similar to a couple of you guys on this call.
My neighbor.
Your old neighbor.
My old neighbor.
And your new neighbor, Rita. But this gentleman has actually established roots down in Sarasota, Florida, where he's going to be joining us here today. But primarily what we're going to be discussing is going to be his journey on this long career. He's one of the largest partners that actually distributes insurance in the entire industry. And he's the number one distributor for our second favorite company, which is going to be Columbian Financial Group. A lot of you guys are riding with them right now, or a couple of you guys are riding with them right now, but he is actually the man when it comes down to distribution for Columbian Financial Group. And he actually is the man that actually helped develop the product itself. So we're going to have a great conversation. He started off at very humble beginnings, starting off working out of a dirt floor office. Now he's doing north of multiple seven figures a month in the insurance business. He's one of the biggest partners with the Integrity Marketing Group. He's a great friend of our old guest, which was Frank Buse, and a great partner of ours. And I want to welcome with a very warm welcome. And I want to thank him for gracing us with his presence today, Mr. Alan Town. Good morning, Alan. How you doing?
Gentlemen, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
there he is. There he is.
Good morning.
Hey!
Good morning, Alan.
He's real. Hey, Jamal, thank you for that beautiful introduction. And I've got my brother in life on the phone here as well, Mr. Frank Buse. Frank and I have been together for, 25 years. I've actually been in this space, like Frank, for actually, it's hard to believe, north of 30 years.
Amen.
So, yeah, it's been a heck of a ride. But Jamal, it is my honor to be with you and your team this morning, and looking forward to taking the conversation in whatever direction you choose.
Well, I appreciate that, Alan, so much. And, honestly, I really do want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts here at this family, and really thank you for actually joining us on this morning call. And I want to thank you as well, Frank, for helping assist in getting this set up. But, Alan, the biggest thing that I want us to have a conversation about has been what your journey has been throughout your entire career. Sure. I find it very incredible how you've been able to see things that most people haven't been able to see or think about. And, my biggest philosophy and Rita's biggest philosophy is we want people to think bigger. We want everybody to think bigger and want more. And that's kind of been what that's been your philosophy from the beginning. But I kind of want to start off with your overall philosophy of how you see everything, which is failure is not an option. And I want to start there, because when you got started in the business, Alan, it was a little bit of a mix, because you had a very unique situation where you were working for the present day second biggest distributor of insurance in the marketplace, and you ended up taking a leap of faith. You took a leap of faith to start something on your own, where you had no certainty that anything was going to work out. But aside from a lot of the people that are on this call right now, your journey wasn't conventional. You didn't start off necessarily selling face-to-face or selling over the phone or anything like that. But the aspect of the business that you fell in love with and you got a chance to see is the distribution aspect of this business. And that's where I want us to start off with, because in your initial early days, like I mentioned earlier, you were working on a dirt floor in a room. And
absolutely true story.
And you ended up transitioning from there to where you're at today. So can we actually just take a quick kind of an entry into what it was like for you initially getting started and what that transition looked like, leaving the second biggest distributor of insurance in the marketplace?
Sure. Well, thank you for that. Interesting, too, because typically when you go into someone's home or when you go into someone's office or a store, you wipe your feet before you go in. But no, in my office, you wipe your feet after you leave, because we literally did have a dirt floor. But I want to hit on something. You made a comment that grabbed my attention, and that was that I was able to see things early on that enabled me to forge forward and to develop a belief that I could do whatever it is I chose to do, as long as I was willing to do what most people are not willing to do, which is work extremely hard. But let me talk about seeing things. I, like many of the folks on this phone today, did not see things the way that I see them today. I did not have a belief early on. What I had was I had great mentors. I had great leadership that poured into me because they saw something in me that I didn't even know existed. So that was the key for me, is I was lucky enough, I was fortunate enough to surround myself with some really extraordinary folks in the industry that took a liking to me. And they took a liking to me because, again, they saw something I didn't even know existed. It's amazing in life when you're young in business. You know, we like to dream big, but deep down we don't really believe because we don't maybe come from that pedigree. We weren't born exceptional. We don't come from anything exceptional. Most of us, we come from average, you know, and it's in many cases below average. Hey, I started out in an orphanage. I had a different name. My name was Sam. Now my name is Alan because I was eventually adopted by great people and they named me Alan. But so again, I wasn't supposed to be anything, and the people that adopted me were not Ivy Leaguers. You know, they were very average people. My dad never made more than $43,000 a year. That was his best year, you know, in business, you know, when he was working many years ago. So the point is, I wasn't supposed to succeed. I was very average. I wasn't a very good athlete. I wasn't a good student. Academics are really not my thing, but I'm a personality, that's for sure. And but getting back to that comment about being able to see things. No, I had people that saw things in me. The thing that I'm proud of is the fact that because I was hearing good things. People expected big things from me in business once they got to know me a little bit, and then they began to pour into me, and I didn't want to let them down. And I began to take on a belief that, you know what, maybe they're right. Maybe I can be somebody. Maybe I can do something extraordinary. If this person thinks I can, who happens to be highly successful, well, then maybe I can do that. Because let's face it, when you tell somebody they're a loser, when they hear it enough, they begin to take on that identity. When you tell someone they're a winner, and you tell them that enough, and they're hearing that enough from the right people, they begin to take on that identity. And your belief is what will propel you either forward or backwards. So what do you believe? Do you believe that you're a winner? Do you believe that you're destined to do something special? Or do you believe that you're destined to just remain average? Because if you are of that belief system, you will remain average. So that, Jamal, was a big, big thing for me. I was fortunate enough, and I think most of the people on this call, I think, can also say the same thing, if you're being honest, that one of the reasons you are where you are is because somebody believed in you. Somebody has put some energy into you. We only put energy into people that we feel like are worthy. Jamal?
No, absolutely.
Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I completely agree with that.
Yeah, if you allow me, Alan, this is Rita.
Rita.
How you doing, brother? I mean, you are from Rhode Island. I'm from Rhode Island. I just moved to Florida a month ago, so...
Wait a minute, man. Where in Rhode Island are you from? And
Providence.
Guys, you gotta understand, Rhode Island's about the size of Austin, Texas. So
I was, I was in Providence. I've been there for 35 years, and then I moved to Attleboro, and then after Attleboro, I just moved to Royal Palm Beach. So we built a house here. We just came here a month ago.
Good for you. Good for you. I grew up in Bristol.
Yes.
And so you know Rhode Island, obviously. So let me paint the picture too, because one of the things that Jamal wanted me to do was tell a little bit of the story. I started my business in my dad's home in Bristol, and this was an old Victorian home. Mm-hmm. And Rita will tell you that's a lot of the older homes there are Victorian style homes up in New England, up in Rhode Island, Massachusetts. And so back in those, and I'm talking about a home that was well over 100 years old. So back in those days, they all had basements, but they did not have concrete basements at all. They were just dirt. So I started my office in my dad's basement, and with a dirt floor, literally, and asbestos wrapped pipes exposed overhead, extremely damp. Because of the weather up there, and we in Bristol is on a peninsula, so all kinds of ocean spray, salt water spray, so just very damp, just to kind of paint the picture. So I had the Pitney Bowes machines and the printers and the phone systems and computers and dehumidifiers running nonstop to keep the air as dry as possible, so that things wouldn't break down because of the mold and the dampness. It wasn't beautiful by any stretch. But I'm sorry, Reed, I interrupted you, but I ended up moving to Sarasota, Florida. So I'm in Florida now as well.
Yeah, Alan, I said you can interrupt us anytime, any day. You are our guest. It's an honor and pleasure. We are here. Go ahead, my brother.
Well, I appreciate that.
I had a quick question, Alan, because the one thing that you hit on that I think is extremely relevant for everybody on the call this morning is that you said that somebody saw something. You said that your mentor saw something in you. And I'm curious to know, from your perspective, what do you think that they saw in you that made them want to invest so much time and energy into you to let you be successful, or to assist you in being successful?
I think what they saw in me was that I was a guy that had what I like to refer to as a controlled chip on my shoulder, that had a lot of fire in his belly, who had something to prove. That's what they saw in me, because I was the average guy. I was pretty much invisible in school. You know what I mean? Back in the days of high school. I wanted to be a jock. I was not a very good athlete. I didn't fit in academically because I wasn't very smart. Didn't take the toughest classes because I frankly couldn't have handled it. And I wasn't with the popular kids. I was just kind of very average. So I kind of went through life, and I think a lot of you guys, maybe some of you would possibly say the same thing. You have kind of a controlled chip on your shoulder, and that's how we a lot of us are like that when we're young. We're a little pissed off, you know what I mean, for whatever reason. We just, because that's just life. It's called the evolution of life, and trying to figure out who it is that we're going to become. What is it that we want to become? And when society tells you that you're going to become nothing because you come from nothing, and because that's where you come from is typically where you stay, that kind of pissed me off. So I had kind of a controlled chip on my shoulder, and I had, but I had a lot of fire in my belly, and I was highly motivated, never lazy, always worked, hard worker, always willing to learn, and always have had a learning heart, or still do. Zero arrogance. Zero. There's no room for ego, and there's no room for arrogance in your business. Okay, that will kill you.
That's true.
And I really mean that. That is a very big part of. I like to refer to that as business maturity. Okay, check your ego at the door. Frank, my partner Frank, knows that this is a big. This is something we talk about all the time at Integrity Marketing Group. We have listen to me. We have the most successful, really industry changing and carving folks in the history of our business that are our partners. So not only do they have influence and power, but they've got great wealth. But there is no room for egos in our business. Okay. Rising tides raise all boats. That's one of our favorite sayings, which is why I feel like it's so important to latch on to an organization like this one, where you can learn and you can feed off each other and you can get better together and share best practices. Don't let me ever find out that there are folks on your team that are hiding their secrets. No, share. And I'm telling you, man, the universe is real. Karma is real. What you put out in the universe comes back to you tenfold. I'm telling you, man, the more you put out, the more you help people, the more good will come your way. You just have to trust me on this one. And because I'm right.
And that's why you're right, and that's why you're successful. And if forgive me for correcting you when you said earlier, I was not supposed to be somebody. You were meant to be somebody. You were meant to be somebody.
Yes. Reed, I
Because
love that. But I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
But Alan,
we are all meant to be somebody, but we don't all believe that or know that when we're young.
And I've noticed, like, I hear a lot of stories in this business, right? And, you know, you hear a lot of successful guys. I mean, I have never met anyone who said, look, you know, I have a PhD in science. I have a PhD in sales. I have a PhD in anything. I remember I was doing a seminar once, and then when I left, the guy said, hey, you know, what's your educational level? I said, I have a PhD. He said, oh, PhD on what? I said, poor, hungry, and driven. That's what my PhD is.
I love it.
Hungry and driven. And I hear your story right now, you know, coming from an orphanage when everything is stacked against you. The whole world is stacked against you. You haven't had that foundation of, hey, you know, going to school with normal family or normal friends or whatever. Like, thank God you joined the right family. God had a plan for you. But your heart, your belief, that chip that's in your back, you know, the friend that maybe not picked you and me because, you know, I was born in a family of 13 kids. I was dirt poor. You know, I remember I didn't even know that people eat apples, you know, as a whole. But it's hard, Alan, it's hard. And if there is anything that anyone can pick from here, just listen to what Alan said. You have to have heart.
Really, you're 6'6", 220. I don't doubt that nobody didn't pick you.
I swear to you, Jamal, I swear to you, I remember growing up poor. The reason they didn't pick me, because I didn't have the nicest clothes. I didn't have, like, you know, I wasn't the smartest guy in school. You know, I had, you know, a self-esteem of us being poor, having, like, you know, ripped shoes, and it's just different. I might be 6'2", you know, like, in my career, I've been working hard to make it to the NFL teams and everything. But, you know, like, when I was young, like Alan, you know, I mean, I'm definitely not in the level that he was, but I agree with him. When you have a chip in your shoulder that you have to prove everyone, nothing can stop you.
I completely agree.
Oh, that's
and Alan,
exactly right.
I got another important question for you. I can't let us move on without this question. So I believe that there's a significant difference between working hard and making work hard, or excuse me, hard work and making work hard. I think there's a very big difference between the two. And what were some of the things that you believe were critical that were actually things that you worked hard on that actually moved the needle forward to allow you to grow your business?
Well, number one, ego, and I really mean that. God, I cannot impress this message upon you hard enough. I mean, you've got to remain humble and thankful and appreciative, and you know, and again, there's just no room for arrogance when you're beginning to find a little bit of success. But you know, when I early on, I had people that. One of the things I did early, and I started in the business when I was 23. And when I started in the business, coming from, you know, a meager beginnings, I met early on in the business two people in the agency, and I started in the largest agency in America back in those days. An agency that was, because I moved from Rhode Island back in '86 down to Clearwater, Florida, with a girlfriend. And back then I was just trying to figure out, what am I going to do? What do I want to be? I had no real direction, had no real plan. Just knew that nothing was really clicking for me yet. And my girlfriend wanted to, at that time, move to Florida and get away from the weather in Rhode Island and try something different. And I said, well, heck, I'll go with you. And I started waiting tables there. And I think that was a great background for me, because that's really where I learned how to sell. Because, you know, think about it. You folks that are waiting tables, they have to be confident enough to work with people and sell. You're selling food. You're selling an experience. You're selling a good time. And if you do a good job, you make a commission. We call it a tip. You know what I mean? So that's really where I kind of learned sales. And then I got into the insurance business just by accident, because somebody that I met while I was living in Clearwater, looked at me and said, "Gosh, what are you doing waiting tables? I mean, you've got a personality, man. You got some energy." And I'm a bodybuilder. I've competed most of my life, and that's where I learned discipline. And I'm still. I mean, I'm in the gym almost every day, even to this day. Frank and I were talking about equipment. An equipment purchase just last night, actually. I'm 56 years old today. And, I got involved with bodybuilding when I was 18 because of, one of the girls in school told me I had chicken legs, and I did. I was a skinny kid. And, I thought to myself, I mean, I was humiliated, but then I thought to myself, this is something I can change. So I went to the gym, and I'm going back. This is back in the days when Arnold Schwarzenegger and those guys were like our favorites, and great heroes, Lou Ferrigno and those guys. And so I started studying those guys and started to sculpt my body, and I learned what you can accomplish, what you can change through hard work and determination and that constant repetition, game of repetition. Because one of the things that I think Jamal commented on earlier when he was discussing Sean Murphy's success in 3 apps a day was the fact that he stays at it. He executes. I think what you said specifically was he executes on a daily basis. That was a key for me to learn early on. And I learned that through bodybuilding as a kid, as a young man, was that through daily execution in the gym, I can make the changes that I want to make in my physique. And as that began to happen, I'm 21, I'm 22, I'm 23. I first started to compete back at age 23. I began to take on a confidence that did not exist in me prior to becoming a bodybuilder, if you will. And I won, and I was actually pretty good, and I competed. The last time I competed was at age 48, and I took the entire show. I'm one of those personalities that when I make my decisions, I'm going to do something, I go in hard. And so I learned from bodybuilding about commitment and hard work and determination and discipline. Oh boy, does our business ever require a discipline? So I learned that there. I was discovered by just another friend of mine who happened to have just gotten into the business, the insurance business. When I was 23, and he's like, "God, you've got a personality, you've got a good look, you've got a confidence about you." And again, I started to develop this confidence because of my bodybuilding and starting to feel good about myself. And he's like, you ought to come take a look at what we're doing here in the insurance industry. And that the agency that I worked for was the largest agency specializing in the senior market. Back in those days. So Medicare supplements, final expense, home health care, long-term care, a little bit of annuity business. That was a fairly new space back in those days. So it was long-term care. Big push in the Medicare space. And that's where I got into the business. So when I got in as a kid, I immediately I was smart enough to latch on to the rock stars in the agency and not the naysayers and future losers that were going to fail, because they're all out there in there. Let's face it, guys and gals, not everybody in our business is a winner. There are a lot of folks that get in, and then when they figure out that this really does require a lot of hard work, they quit, because not everybody is going to be willing to put in the effort. So I was willing, because I quickly learned that two of the stars in the agency, and I'm going back now to 1988, two of the stud agencies, agents, these are personal producers, were making about $20,000 a month. That's all I had to hear. Because those numbers are like, especially back in the 80s. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's 50K. That's 50K a month.
Crazy big numbers. And I'm talking, but here's the thing that grabbed my attention. There were two gentlemen. The two guys that were doing this were not impressive. And let me try to explain what I mean by that. They weren't educated. They weren't Ivy Leaguers. Because again, and Rita will tell you, man, when you grow up in New England, education is pounded into our heads, because the Northeast, the northeastern part of the United States is very pro-education. We've got a lot of Ivy League schools there, and prep schools, and education is important to a lot of people, and they basically pounded your head. If you don't get a good education, go to a great college, you're basically going to go nowhere. Mm-hmm. And so again, like I talked about earlier, when you hear that enough, you start to believe it. So I kind of started to believe it, and but I, for whatever reason, was just not a very good academic. The books are not for everybody, okay? But I definitely have my PhD in the street. I'll put, and I think everybody on the call
driven, Alan. Use it, Alan. Poor, hungry, and driven.
That's exactly. No, I love that, because it's exactly who I am, and I know that's certainly who many of the people on this call are. So I started to study the two guys in the agency that were making about $20,000 a month, and neither one of them went to college. They weren't overly articulate. I mean, they weren't, these wonderful wordsmiths. I mean, these are just very average guys. But what I did discover about them was that they worked their asses off. And I have to call it what it is. I like to use language like that to emphasize certain things, because they did exactly that. They worked extremely hard. They were incredibly ethical. Okay. I mean, and these are things that are very important to me. I know a lot of people that work their butts off, but they're not ethical, and they eventually crash. You've got to be highly ethical in our space, and you have to do the right things, but you have to work extremely hard. You have to become a student of the industry. You have to learn your competition inside and out. You must know your product, and you must love your clients. You must care about them. You must care about their families, and it has to be genuine. I had a guy hit me with a phrase years ago that I was affiliated with, and I loved it. One of the things he said, this is the secret to success, and some of you may want to write this down. This is really cool. What is your secret to success? Continuous, intelligent exposure with natural enthusiasm from the heart. Think about that. Continuous, you have to stay out there. Execute on a daily basis, like Jamal said. Continuous, intelligent exposure, because you have to expose yourself. You got to be out there. You got to touch 85 people in a day, right? Come on. So, but so you have to. So continuous, intelligent exposure with natural enthusiasm from the heart. It has to be a natural enthusiasm. If you cannot fake it in this business, people can read BS. You either you either naturally care about people or you don't. If you naturally care about people and you care about your business and you care about doing a good job, people will sense that and they'll want to do business with you. One of the other guys I've been very close to, Dave Willis, who is a good buddy of Frank's as well. He always taught me years ago, and we've been together for 25 years as well. And he said, man, you got to make a friend before you make a sale. And that is so true. You've got to get people to like you first, so again, continuous, intelligent exposure with natural enthusiasm from the heart. And I want to ask Frank, my partner in crime here, and that's actually probably the bad choice of words, but he's my buddy. Frank, I want to ask you, do you know who told me or taught me that phrase years ago? I think you do.
I do. It's Tim McCoy Sr. And
you got it, baby. That's exactly right.
He started Neat Management, who Tim McCoy Jr., who's one of our partners now in Integrity and one of the largest marketing organizations around. And that's where I first met Alan, actually, is when he was working with Neat Management, and he recruited me over with a company a long, long time ago, 25 plus years ago, I think it was. And, here we are today, partners. But I do want to say one thing, guys.
Frank. Can we go through this really quickly? Because I would love for everybody to know, Frank, how you and Alan actually met, what this connection was, how we were able to build this fantastic partnership where both of you guys have led to many acquisitions and partnerships together. So can we go through that really quickly?
Absolutely. I'd love to. And so I met Alan probably 25 years ago, and like I say, he was a recruiter at Neat Management Group, and he picks up the phone one day and calls me up, and I'm like, who is this guy? But he was so energetic, and he was so just nice and just upbeat on the phone. I said, I really like this guy. Somebody I want to be around. This guy's a winner. And so I took a contract with Neat Management, and Alan and I built a friendship at that point, and later on, he left Neat Management, and not on great terms, to be totally honest with you. And that's when he started his own business himself in the dirt floor in his dad's basement in Rhode Island. But we stayed in touch, and when Alan hooked up with this deal, he called me, and I went on with him. And, we've just been great, but probably best friends ever since. And, I've been through a lot of ups and downs in my career. Been knocked down, completely lost everything I'd built. And, the one person who really pushed me through the whole thing and helped me through it was Alan. And, I was sitting there back in 2014, guys, after building a $22 million a year agency. I was sitting there with nothing. I was literally sitting on the steps of my office with not even any furniture because of a busted up partnership. And, I didn't really know which way to turn. And here Alan is. He says, hey, just go back to doing what you know. Go back to doing what you believe in. Go back to doing the things that what works and what got you to this point you're at. And so I listened to him, and thank God he told me that, because, that's what saw me through. And we built the whole thing back in less than 5 years. And actually, we're bigger than we ever were then, and as big as we've ever been now. And, every day, anytime I've ever needed Alan, he's always been there. And the thing that I love most, there's two things that Alan has taught me that I have to say. Number one is how he treats people. He treats everybody as they're the most important person in the world. And when you're trying to build an agency, guys, or when you're trying to succeed in a business, everybody matters. Everybody's important, okay? From the top producer down to your lowest producer, they all matter, because you know what? We all get better every day. And if you don't treat the person who needs your help like you do your number one guy, you're in trouble. Alan taught me that. Okay, he taught me those things. And he also taught me that once you decide the direction you're going in, get settled and just grind every day and do it. Don't look back. Don't question it. Just when you find something that works, you just go work as hard as you can and stick to your guns. Stay true to your beliefs, stay true to your core values, and that will get you through. And, I've always listened to that, and I've always stayed true to that, and it certainly served me well. And if I had any advice to everybody on this call this morning listening, listen, you're in a great business. You're in a great spot with your organization, with Rita and Jamal. And you've got great leadership at the top, and you need to listen to them, and you need to believe in what you're doing. You can't be successful unless you believe in what you're doing. Believe in your system, know that it works, and just go grind. I know people tell you every day, unhappy people, misery loves company, as they say. I think Alan talked a little bit about that earlier, but you can't listen to that stuff. You can't do it. Just grind through it. Push yourself through. Alan has always taught me that. Even when the chips were down, he's like, hey, don't worry about it. I'm here for you. We're going to help you. And Jamal, I know you guys tell all your agents and all your entire organization the same thing. You guys are there for them, okay? No doubt. And you always answer their call when they call you if they need your help, no matter what it is. If they need help closing a sale, if they just need a friendly voice on the other line, you guys are there for them. Okay, Alan was always there for me, and he always talked to our guys and my guys just like they were his own, and they were his own, and that's why our relationship is so special, and that's what we want to offer to you and your guys and ladies that everybody's listening to this call. We can be there for you as well, because you know what? When you're willing to share your heart and share your knowledge and share ideas and share everything that we've been through, you're just going to make other people around you better. And you know what? When you share that, it makes you better. And so that's what we believe in at Integrity. Rising tides raise all boats. I believe in that. I believe it's more true today than it ever has been. And Alan, I love you, bro. You're the best, and just love listening to you speak, buddy.
Yeah, if I say,
sorry to steal the floor there for a minute, but I had to say that, man.
If I'll say anything, Frank, the one thing that is no doubt, you are good people. You're just good people. You and Alan and Tim and a lot of people, at the Integrity family, you are just good people. Now we see the industry a little bit shifting, and I'm sure that Alan knows a little bit what I'm talking about, where with some IMOs and NMOs, and you have a lot of young generations who are trying to build a platform in this industry that they don't have the mentality that you guys had in the old days of have integrity and honor and belief in doing the right thing. Like, either you or Alan, like, where do you see this industry going? As we see right now, agents, they jump from one IMO to the other one. On the lifespan of 7 years, you have an agent move between 2 or 3 or 4 IMOs. Now, we have some good builders here, like the Brents and the Lewises of the world and who are listening. If you can just teach them the dynamics of putting the right foundation into just grinding and building and keep on growing.
Well,
hey guys,
I'll say this.
Go ahead, Frank.
Go ahead, Alan. I'm sorry. Well, I was just going to say, every time.
Say what because I got a lot to say. So, John, you go first.
Every time you make a change, guys, you set yourself back. Okay? If you're with a system that's working, if you're with people you can trust, and you are, that care about you and care about your success, you're in the best place you can be. So now the rest is up to you. You just gotta, like Rich said, you just gotta go grind, and you gotta work through it. Because I'm gonna tell you something. Every time you change around, every time you switch up, and the grass may look greener on the other side, it's not, guys. I've been there. I've done it. Okay, just go grind. Believe in what you do. Believe in the people around you. Trust that what you're doing is the right thing, because it is, and go to work. It's as simple as that. One thing Alan taught me, he made me believe that what I've been able to accomplish, what we've been able, and I always say we because it's not me, what we've been able to accomplish here at Senior Select, he made me believe it was possible. Okay. And, I was one of those guys that's like, yeah, I can go sell and I can do this and I can do that, but I'll never be able to build and be where I wanted to be. Alan made me believe it was possible. And you know what? It came true for me. But guess what? Everybody listening to this call, is possible for you too. But you have to trust and believe in the people, your mentors above you. So that's what I would say as far as your question, Reed. I hope that answers it. Alan, I'll shut up and let you talk, buddy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
No, you did great, Frank. I appreciate all that. Guys, let me first let you know that, going back to the two earners that were making $20,000 a month back in 1988, I quickly decided to become a student of these two gentlemen. I wanted to study them. I wanted to figure them out. I wanted to emulate them, was going to copy them. God gave us eyes to plagiarize, and boy, did I plagiarize. And so I learned way back that the most important thing that I could do would be to study the winners and to get the naysayers out of my life. And, I'm a big student of leadership, and I study all the leadership coaches out there. John Maxwell is one that I've been a big fan of for many years. And he taught me years ago, he's a New York Times bestseller. He's got probably close to 100 books now, and that's not an exaggeration, that are bestsellers on the New York Times bestsellers on leadership. And he taught me way back that it's okay to say goodbye to people along the way. So not everybody is going to be on your path. Average people don't want to see other average people excel. Average people want to see other average people basically stay right there where they are. And that's okay. And some of these folks happen to be family members, okay? And I lived it, man. I dealt with it, and that's okay too. Their intentions are probably good, but they're wrong, okay? You why are you working so hard? Why don't you take a break? Why don't you why do you need to make so much money? I mean, these are just ridiculous statements in my estimation. Get out there, work your butts off. Do something extraordinary. Life is amazing. You get one shot at it. You see these people living extraordinary lifestyles, living in these gorgeous homes, driving these amazing cars, sailing in these amazing yachts, going on amazing vacations. Why can't you? And you have to take on that attitude. So I started studying these guys that were making a lot of money. And I realized pretty quickly, they got nothing on me except for one thing. And I want you all to hear this, because Frank and I, have nothing on anybody on this call except for one thing that we do have on you. We've got time in. That's it. Time. The guys that were killing it, making 20 grand a month back in 1988, had been doing it a lot longer than me. They were in their early 40s. I was 23. I was a kid. I've been in the business 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. But I started to study these guys, and I realized if I would just put my head down, get focused, put on the blinders, and forget about the naysayers, and surround myself with winners, which meant I had to close up my center of influence, because most people are not winners. I don't Facebook, guys. I don't do any. There's no social media on Allentown. Because I don't. I'm not, again, ego. I'm not showing everybody, hey, look at where I'm at. Look at what I'm doing. Look at my yacht. No. I live very privately by choice, okay? But I do that because I learned way back that for me, the best thing that I could do was to study highly successful people, try to copy them, and then outwork them. And that really is the key. And boy, did I outwork these guys. And I became top earners in the organization, as well as then the next organization that I went to work with. But I got gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, I don't remember my 30s. And I want you to hear that. I don't remember what it was like to be in my 30s. Well, why not? Because I was working my ass off. That's why. I was working 12 hours, 15, sometimes 16-hour days, 6 days a week. I was a freaking animal. Okay. But that's what it took. There is no substitute. Okay. This is a marathon. And if you want to win that marathon, there are several things you have to do. And the number one thing you have to do is you have to work your butt off. Okay. Work extremely hard.
So Alan, I got a question regarding that. So Alan, this is kind of the previous question I asked. I don't think I worded it right, but there's a difference between working hard and working smart. And, hard work will always beat talent when talent doesn't work hard. But the one thing that I find to be a major issue in this business is getting bogged down with the stuff that you can say you're working hard on, but that shit don't do nothing. It doesn't do nothing for you.
Yeah. Oh, it's got to be directed properly.
So you said that success was continuous intelligent exposure with natural enthusiasm. And when I think about the intelligent part, this is where I think about working smarter versus working harder. So what were some of the things that you were doing very early on in your career that allowed you to harness that hard work in a smart way to actually achieve the result? Because your results are by far where most people are. So what were some of those activities? Because it bothers me. It really bothers me when there's stuff that gets done that doesn't do anything. Like when you flipping through trying to organize leads, that doesn't do nothing.
Sure. Oh, I've got the answer, and it's very, very simple. And it's funny because Gary Bush, who is the founder of AmeriLife, who had the biggest, most successful agency in the world 25 and 30 years ago, sold his company 14 years ago. He told, and he's one of my great mentors even today. He's the one that really helped kind of catapult me, or that first believed in me, and meant a lot to my career. he told me recently, I was with him about a year ago, we had a conversation, we were talking, and he said, let me tell you something. The reason you excelled over most of the folks that have run through my organization over the years is because you weren't one of those guys that had to understand every single facet of the industry. You didn't, and he said, here's the analogy I'll use. Okay, you're selling a clock, you're selling a watch. All you needed to know was what color it was, how it, that it kept good time, and that it looked good. That's all you needed to understand. And you'd get out there and sell. I've got other guys in the organization and gals that they not only needed to understand that it looked good and what color it was and that it looked good, but they also needed to understand specifically how it worked. They were the type that had to break the darn thing open and study every component and understand it. There are so many people out there that are always getting ready to get ready. They're always getting ready to get started. Just get out there and go. Get out. I made so many mistakes. It's okay. And when I say made mistakes, I was just give me some leads. Give me somebody to talk to. I'm going to get out there. I may not know what the hell I'm talking about, but I'll get it figured out. You get it figured out along the way. So for me, that was intelligent work. Intelligent work was just get out there and just get started. Because if you just get out there and get moving, things are going to kind of you're going to figure things out along the way. I wasn't the kind of, I'm not so overly analytical that I have to know everything. I just have to understand a few things at a very high level and just go to work. So hopefully that kind of answers your question, but that
Alan,
worked for me.
No, it does.
That answers the question perfectly. That answers the question
Good.
I feel like that's the issue.
Yeah, but
Alan,
the other part of that, I really, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No. Don't be sorry. Go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is that you really need to understand. I mean, there really is no substitute for hard work. I'm right now going to tomorrow. I'll be with another one of my partners who is bringing some of their top people down. We're going to get out on. I've got a beautiful yacht here in Sarasota, and so what we do is we take top people out and try to inspire them, some of the younger folks, and pour into them for the day. But this particular agency operator, he has one requirement, and that is you work your ass off. That is his requirement, period. If you follow the system, they've got the system, you follow that system and you work your butts off. They issued and paid last month $24.7 million in the life space, between mortgage protection and final expense. I mean, it's just unbelievable how big you can grow these things. So again, there is no substitute for extremely hard work. Okay. There is no substitute for extreme ethics. Okay. Understanding that you're going to take care of folks, remain focused, get the naysayers out of your life. People are either going to champion your success and cheer for you, or they're not. The ones that don't cheer for me, I wish them well. I say goodbye, and then I latch on to others that are like-minded, people that do want to think big, people that are not going to attempt to punish me for my success, because I will never apologize for it. Everything I've got, I've earned, and as you all have as well. And you need to have that attitude, because you deserve all the great things you're going to be able to do with your success, whether it be helping others, or buying yourself some special toys, cool cars, houses, whatever. One of the things that makes me unique, and I think Frank will agree, and Frank and I are very similar with reference to how we feel about our carriers. We need to understand our carriers, the insurance companies, are our partners. We love the insurance companies we represent, because let's face it, at the end of the day, our paychecks come from the insurance companies. So I learned many, many years ago that, and I guess I just kind of figured this out on my own, because I really didn't have anybody that taught me this. I've had some leaders that have had the attitude that, hey, if you can get 3 to 5 years out of a carrier, then you've had a good run, and that carrier crashes and burns, and you move on to the next one. No big deal. I did have then another organization that I affiliated with that actually had a different attitude, and that was not give credit where it's due. Tim McCoy, Neat Management Group. Their attitude was that the first winner in the transaction needed to be the insurance company, that we must protect their bottom line. And that sank in with me and was much more appealing a strategy than the one I was raised in, which is, hey, if you can get 3 to 5 years out of a carrier, then you've had a good run, you move on to the next one. Flipping a field force into a new carrier and going through all the mental gymnastics that are required to learn a new company, learn their systems, learn their people, learn their product, is really a daunting task. And so I adopted many, many years ago, over 20 years ago, the same philosophy that I received from, again, my great mentors in Texas, Neat Management Group. And I have had a 20-year run now with Columbian Life. And as Frank had mentioned, I am the chief architect on their final expense program. I put them in the space that they're in now. And their marketing director over there, Tim, is a guy named Todd Swinson. I had a relationship with him with another company 25 years ago. He left 21 years ago, that carrier, to go to work for Columbian Life Insurance Company. And then 20 years ago, brought me in and went to work with him and rolled up our sleeves to revamp their existing product and have really put them on the map in a big way. And I love Columbian Life as if that was a company that I owned. And I want you to take on the same attitude with whatever carrier you choose. You have to have a primary carrier, your go-to company, and you have to love that company. I want you to treat that company as if it was a company that your family owned. And so when you're assessing a risk and your field underwriting, and I noticed one of the things that was said earlier, 85, I don't know what was the percentage, 95% of the cases that were written, I believe it was yesterday, are all level death benefit. Wonderful, bravo, wonderful deal for the consumer. And I'm sure it'll be a wonderful deal for the carrier, because that also tells me that you were dealing with a lot of folks that were predominantly healthy. And what I mean by that is certainly healthy enough to qualify for a full immediate death benefit. Bravo, wonderful, that's the goal, is a full benefit, day one coverage. So I learned to love Columbian Life, to learn Columbian Life as if it were my company. I do think of it as if it's my company. I do. I always have their back. Frank Buse has the same attitude. He always has their back. They need to make a profit. They deserve to make a profit. They deserve to be the first winner in the transaction. And as long as they are, guess what? We all still have a deal. And boy, how lucky have I been? My primary company I've been with for 20 years. My first meeting with them was in June of 2000. So it's been just past 20 years now. And hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of in-force premium. They pay us a fortune. I know the people they've watched my family, me raise my family. I've watched them raise their family, their families. It's a beautiful relationship. There's no tug of war. It's when I call them with realistic requests, and we get what we need. I just feel like heck, the president and CEO of the company, and I got the voicemail on my phone because I'll never erase it because it's just so funny. He called me a few months ago and sang at 7:30 at night, sang happy birthday to me. And it's just, I'm sure that Frank, who's the president and CEO of the company, you can just picture this guy doing that. He's just a fun, neat guy. But that's the kind of relationship you want to have, a relationship with your primary carrier where they truly care about you. And you have to truly care about them. And you build a statement, a real statement, a statement where, hey, at the end of the month, you won. You're going to have lapses. It's part of the business. But if you're spreading your business out with 8 different companies, you're going to end up with debit balances with half of them. And you're going to have demand letters coming from them. And it just gets messy. Build a real statement with a carrier where you've got a real book of business with a company. And the debit balances just kind of work their way out because you've got thousands of dollars in renewal commissions coming in, on a monthly basis. That's where you want to get. That's where you want to be. $400 coming from one company, 200 coming from that one. Ooh, what's this? $57 I got last month from, Canal Life. Or who, you know what I mean? So what is that? Now, we have to have our backup carriers for specific situations, COPD, neuropathy, height and weight. I mean, I can go on and on. But you got to have your primary company. That's really important to me. Jamal, Rita, I don't know if you subscribe to that or not, but I'm sharing with you the things that worked for me. And again, I'm not that smart, but I work hard and I'm a relationship guy. So for me, it's just a lot easier to have a really, really strong relationship with one primary company. And then you've got the other companies as backups that you have to use, when you run into certain health situations. And obviously the objective is to give everybody, when possible, a full immediate death benefit. And with that, I'll send it back to you, and hopefully I'm answering some good questions.
No, you definitely are, Alan. And that was probably one of the biggest things that I think we could have possibly talked about was building that relationship. And we do preach almost the exact same message. We have our core carriers that we recommend everybody write business with. And I mean, because that's the monster of this business is, controlling where you're doing your placement, because that's what's going to make sure that your cash flow remains consistent permanently. But, I have another question for you, Alan, because this kind of goes back to everything before it gets to where it's at right now. And I want to kind of go back to the initial journey, because when you initially got started, and there's some people on this call right now that may relate to this a lot, but when you first got started, and you went on your own, you was in the dirt floor and you was working your butt off to get to where you ultimately want to be. Your first check was $34.
Correct.
How the hell did you have the foresight to know that everything was going to work out when that was, $34, Alan? How were you able to survive and provide for your family?
Yeah, well, the good news is I was at that point already 12 years into the business, into the industry, had $150,000 of money in my name. Because again, I'd worked for some others. Now I got to jump on something. This is a big deal. 25 years ago, the industry looked totally different. It was pretty much we called a PPGA dominated space. What that means is personal producing general agent. Agency operations like yours did not exist 25 years ago. There were 2 or 3 in the nation. That's it. It just didn't exist. It wasn't there. These agencies have really just kind of morphed and developed over the last really 10 to 15 years. So there are so many amazing places for agents to thrive. Again, back in those days, everybody was kind of on their own, and we didn't have any technology. Computers didn't exist.
So can you explain that a little bit,
existed, Alan? But we didn't.
So
there was no internet.
Are you saying that the agents used to go directly to the carriers and get contracts?
No, they worked through IMOs. Okay, there were a few marketing companies, and I worked for those companies. And nobody was able to get contracts direct with carriers unless they had massive amounts of production to bring to the table. Yeah. So the distribution was pretty much set up the way it is today, where you've got to work through an IMO somewhere. It's just a question of who do you want to work with? Who do you like? Who do you trust? But what didn't exist though were these platforms for total success. I mean, and one I had, I'm just biased because I've watched this agency just morph into one of the finest training IMOs in really the history of our industry, and that's Senior Select. Senior Select has got a full platform for success from A to Z. With leads and with the Senior Select University and all the great things that they're doing. And I know, Jamal, you're doing the same exact thing over there, and it's an amazing thing. Those types of systems did not exist years ago. So I'm going to tell you, and again, we didn't, heck, there was no GPS. There were no cell phones. I mean, we didn't have an internet. I mean, you got a medication and you're sitting in front of something. You have no idea what that is. Well, we didn't know what the heck it was back then. Yeah. But now all you got to do is Google it. Guys and gals, this is the best time to be in an organization. I mean, to be in this industry. And if I were just getting into the business now, I would be so much further ahead, because of the tools that now exist that didn't exist back when I got started. In 20 years ago, my first check, and I was on I worked on an Azerin contract purposely. And that was because another great message that was pounded into my head from one of my great mentors was that you have not arrived in this business until you can live off your renewals. You give thought to that. You have not arrived in this business until you can live off your renewals. That is the goal. I want you to be able to, at some point, be able to say, you know what? I'm going to take 3 weeks off in June, and I'm going to go travel around the country. Or I'm going to go to Europe, whatever you want to go do. And I want you to still get paid. That's what this business affords. This is why we're in this business. We don't just get excited about Friday's paycheck. I get excited about the check that I'm going to get a year from now, 2 years from now, 7 years from now on that one sale. Whoa, that's exciting. So you have to be looking long-term, long range. But yes, my first check was $34. I was inspired. That was the biggest, most grand check that I will ever remember. And I really mean that, because it was my first check. I earned that check. It wasn't nobody else signed it. It was signed by the insurance company. Holy cow. I was inspired. Now listen, the reason I left the two organizations, I was with two organizations prior to that, is because they weren't inspiring me. They weren't appreciating me. They weren't loving on me the way that I wanted to. I didn't feel like it was a reciprocal relationship. And so that's when I made the decision when I was 35 to go off on my own and start my own IMO. And yeah, my first check was $34, and I left Austin, went back to Rhode Island with my mom, lived in my mother and father's house with my wife, my son, and went down to the basement and put in the hours. Now I will tell you something. This is kind of an emotional time for me this time of year, because Thanksgiving is just around the corner. 20 years ago, I'm going to try to get through this without getting emotional, because it really is. 20 years ago this week, I was beginning to find some success. I mean, I really was. But it had caught up with me. And I started my agency in June of 2000. And now here we fast forward to November. On Thanksgiving morning, I was taken by hospital to and Rita will know, to the Newport Hospital because I thought I was dying. I ended up, you can work yourself to death, guys, gals. I ended up, because I was so overworked, and but it was self-inflicted. This was all on me. But if you've got to take care of yourself. I wasn't getting enough rest. I was working so hard, and all the stress and pressures. I developed a double pneumonia along with a flu all at the same time. And I felt like it was dying. It was the craziest sensation. I really thought I was going to die. And so, yeah, that was my Thanksgiving. It was in a hospital 20 years ago. 20 years ago this coming next week. So, yeah, crazy journey. So, but again, there are a lot of folks out there that have stories like this. But I will tell you this: my first check was $34. The next week it was up to $700 and change. Okay, and I had a number, guys and gals. I always wanted to make $20,000 a month, because I always remembered the guys that I started with that were making $20,000 a month. I wanted $20,000 a month, and I wasn't able to get there because of deals that were constantly being changed with the other organizations. And that's why I felt that it wasn't a reciprocal arrangement. They were making millions literally on my effort, and I'm making, $160, a year. That was about where I was at age 33, 34, 35. Good money. Okay. Really good money. And especially back in the late 90s. Yeah. Beautiful. I was living great, man. Had a country club membership, had a $350,000 home, had a Mercedes lease. My wife was home taking care of a 5-year-old son. Life was great, but I knew there was something bigger, out there for me. I did not, my biggest fear at that time, and I don't want any of you to ever have this happen to you, but my fear was that if I was just to stay put in an organization that did not love me, did not appreciate me, that as soon as I started to make a little bit of money, they would change the deal and punish me for success, that one day I'd be 65 years old looking in the mirror, wondering what I might have been able to have accomplished had I had the courage to go off on my own, believe in myself, and just get out there and just go make it happen. So I did that. And again, the first check was $34. I had $150,000 in savings. I was scared to death, working my butt, because, it's scary. Guys, it's scary being self-employed and not having any money. You know what I mean? And you got a family to protect. And, I was able to live with my parents for free. And I went down at their basement, in the dirt floor to build an office. And literally was down there 12 and 15 and 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. And ended up in the hospital because I worked so hard on Thanksgiving 20 years ago. But now let's fast forward. I got to 20 grand within about 14. Again, we didn't have the technology quite back then. Internet was brand new, and very few of our agents were using it. But I learned many, many years ago the way to build really big wealth, if that's what your goal is. And it was my goal. But let me tell you, it was my goal because I turned the insurance business into a sporting event. For me, it's athleticism with a pencil. That's what the final expense industry is for me. It's a sporting event for adults. It's a way for us to compete. You compete with yourself. You compete with others. And you compete with a bank account. You want to grow it because it feels good. You want to win. You want to be a winner. Winners make money. It's just that simple. Okay. And so I turned it into my athleticism as an adult. So I got to 20,000 a month. I think it took me about 14 months. And then I think I went from there to 100 grand. I swear to God. And then I went from there to 250. Then I went from there to quickly 300. I'm talking 300,000 a month income. Oh yeah, crazy.
Cash.
And I'm talking about net money. Okay, it got stupid. I have made north of $50 million in this business, and I'm talking about what's been paid to me so far, and there's a lot more coming because I'm a large stockholder at Integrity. So. The point is, you can get really what I like to refer to as stupid wealthy in this business, and get to a point where you're sending the government quarterly. Obviously, and always take care of the government because the government's going to come after you if you don't. I've never been audited.
Take care of Uncle Sam.
Now I'm going to tell you, this is actually very important. Guard your credit, guys. It's the right thing to do. When a bank loans you money, you pay it back. You guard your credit. Your credit it will really tell stories about your character. And you please hear me when I say this because it really is a true statement. So guard your credit. Don't play games when it comes to the IRS. Before I sold to Integrity, I was making quarterly payments of $330,000. $330,000 a quarter, paying the government $110,000 a month in federal income taxes, and I live in a state where there's no state income tax. Rita, that's one of the reasons we moved to Florida, buddy, to get away from Rhode Island state income taxes, buddy. I know it's true, man. I'm giving you some numbers because I want you to know what's out there. And there are a lot of folks much, much more successful than me. In this industry, there's just no limit. So get out there, have a blast, believe in yourself, do something extraordinary. But then I have to leave you one. This is very important. This is very, very important. If you guys see me, you're gonna look at me. You say, "Holy, you're 56, dude! You look at you freak. I got the body of a 30-year-old athlete." And and I really mean that because I'm a crazy.
You look real good, man. You look real good. I saw your picture. You had your button down, 3 buttons. 3 buttons.
That's
Alan.
right.
You had down 3 buttons. So I could see us like this man doing his thing. This man is doing his thing.
You know, hopefully, I'll get to meet you face to face, Alan, because your journey on fitness competition is the same as mine. As I was a bodybuilder, you know, I had low self-esteem when I was young, and I was a bodybuilder with NFC, and you know, I did the IFBB, and you know, I competed for like 20 years, and so you and I have.
Geez.
Yeah, so we have a lot to talk about and pick your brain, and
Yeah, we do.
hopefully be on your shoulder one of these days so you can take me to the promised land. Why not? It's about who you know.
That's exactly right.
Rita, you better tell him.
Let me just share this with the team, because this is important, Jamal. It really is, man. I get so discouraged when I see folks that are in their 50s that are highly successful, but their bodies are totally broken down. Yep. It's no good. You've done all that work for others because you're going to die. I mean, I'm telling you, man, I sometimes I'm maybe a little bit too direct, but no, I don't think so. I think people need to hear direct, and they need to hear it from somebody that's older, that's already lived it. It is difficult to take care of yourself. It is, because it's discipline. You got to be disciplined with getting enough rest. You have to eat properly. That's the most important thing you can do. You have to eat properly. And I always tell folks, gosh, when you're on the road, bring a gallon of water with you. You know, pack your lunch. Bring a cooler with you. Bring healthy food. Don't just drive by McDonald's. Don't drive into McDonald's. You got to bypass those places. When you're out there nailing it and you're busy, it's real easy to go and pull into the fast food restaurants. You got to avoid those, man. You got to take care of yourself. I'm going to be 100 years old one day. I want all of you to live to be 100, but I want you to do it wealthy, and you want to have it all. I'm telling you, some people will say there's no such thing as balance. I say bullshit to that. There is balance. It's a choice. I choose the number one priority for me. And I'm going to tell you, I've always pretty much been this way, except for the very, very early days of building my business, which is why I ended up in the hospital, because I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't getting enough rest, even though I was training, but I wasn't getting enough rest. You have to get enough rest. You have to take care of yourself. Stay healthy, because I'm telling you, man, time will fly by, and you're going to be 50. 20 years are going to fly by, and you're going to work your butts off. You're going to have great income, great books of business. I want you to have the health now to be able to enjoy everything you've earned. Okay? I'm excited to be 56 because I feel amazing, and I'm rich. And I mean, just call me. This is what you all want, guys. Seriously.
I mean,
and I know Frank is laughing right now, but you know I'm right, man.
You are right.
You are rich. You are rich, Alan.
Yeah, Alan is rich. You see, Alan, but
it's a good feeling,
you know,
brother. I promise.
yeah, the way I see it, Alan, not only he's rich in wealth, you know, he's rich in knowledge, but he's also rich in belief, and that's what's more important thing, because healthy is wealthy, and he's rich in belief, because you know, Alan could lose his money, but he could make it again, because what made that money is Alan. That's what we are trying to teach you guys here, and the thousands of listeners on a podcast, is that this is a story of a kid who was in an orphanage, and he might have been laying down with many other kids who all started from step zero. They all had the same chances. They all had the same opportunities. And this is a story of someone who made something out of nothing. Why? Because he knew at the beginning that nothing is everything. When you have nothing and you know that nothing is everything that you need, it's like a pedestal to you know, build like a step after step after step, and you know, expecting, you know, that you're gonna have hardships and work your ass off until you end up in a hospital. Hopefully you don't have to.
Sure.
But that's what it is. If there is anything I can take from this call, I mean, Alan, I followed you in the past. I've seen you, you know, in pictures with integrity and everything. But for me, it's you know, one of your old neighbors and new neighbors. It's an honor to learn about your journey, and you know, I'll be looking forward to learn from you. Maybe reach out to you. Just be good people. Try to help one another, and for us, this is I would say by far, this was one of the most exciting calls. I was waiting for, which is the same feeling I had, when we had Frank Buse come with us last time, and it's just amazing. I mean, me and Jamal, we know who you guys are. I assure you, a lot of people who are listening, they don't know who you are. And once they get to know who you are, they'll be like, oh my God, I was learning from that person. That person was on a call. Yes, it is that Alan. And look how humble he is, how nice he is, how cool he is. It's an honor and a pleasure. I can't tell you how excited I am. I'm like a kid in a candy cane. I don't want this call to end, but in the same time, Alan has a life to live and money to spend.
And before we end really quickly, Alan, I have one final question. I have one final question that I think everybody would like to know. When you got started, if you didn't have that $150K in the bank, would you have done what you did?
Yeah, absolutely. And I still would have won. I don't know how to lose. I mean, I don't mean that's not arrogance. That's just a fact.
No, I want you to say that, Alan, because like that's something that everybody will try to use as something like, oh, I ain't got $150K in the bank. I can't do what he did. But taking that step back, Alan, what would you have done differently if you didn't have that money in the reserves? Because that $34 check would have been a whole lot more painful.
Well, I already had a plan. I had a plan B, and the plan B was if necessary, if it took longer for me to start to make some money, to find some success, I was fully prepared at the age of 35 to go back to waiting tables and trying to make myself $150, maybe $200 in a night, waiting tables. And I was fully prepared in my mind because I knew I could do that and I was good at it. I could go wait tables at night and work my insurance business during the day. And I would have done that if it was necessary. Absolutely. I'll do whatever it took, whatever it took. And again, the theme, failure is not an option. I was not going to lose. You just, if you take that attitude and be willing to put the work in, because you're going to have to work smart and work hard. Then yeah, you're gonna win. Guys, just believe. This isn't rocket science. There's no magic here. It's hard work in a level of intelligence. And that's really all it is. It's a level of intelligence, but it's a level that most people that can get through high school can do. It's not that difficult. It just really isn't. As long as you love people, you gotta love people.
And that's the issue right now, Alan. Is like they have to be coachable. We have this, I generation, that it's so hard to teach them anything. iPhone, iPad, iRobot, iCar, and me. You try to teach them. I mean, I'm in my 50s, just like you are. You try to teach them morals. You try to teach them the old days, the good thinking. They are so fast in thinking. They want it now. They want to be fast. They want to make $150,000 a month today. If they don't, they go to another IMO. They fail again. They go to another one. They fail again. That foundation of giving it all you got at one spot until you make it, it's so hard to teach these days.
Very hard.
It's so hard.
The most successful agents that I have worked with over the years, and I get down with Frank. Frank will tell you, I know his agents intimately. I don't just deal with Frank and a couple of managers. I work with the guys. I've worked with them. I know them. I've been to their homes. Some of them have been to my home. The ones that succeed are the ones that remain loyal. The ones that have bounced around, and I've watched them. I've watched some really wonderful talents that have not remained loyal or focused, and they were in such a hurry that they have failed. And remain. If you've landed with an agency where you can succeed, just stay the course. Because moving to another company or another agency. And I know people that had this attitude, that, my gosh, you're always going to be looking for new carriers. Why? Well, is there anything wrong with your primary company right now? I mean, what do you need a new company for? A new company doesn't mean, amazing new success. What it means is more confusion and another opportunity for a debit balance. Keep it simple and stay focused and remain loyal. That is such a key component, but sometimes you can't teach these young guys that. But I will tell you this. When you have young folks that feel like, hey, they want to go test they want to go test maybe another organization. They feel like that maybe the grass might be a little greener. You're going to have to let them go and let them figure out that there's a lot of weeds in that grass that they just didn't realize it existed. And you've actually got a better fertilizer in your organization than they do over in theirs. But sometimes people just have to get out there and experience that. So my recommendation to great managers and organizations like yours is if somebody wants to go and they're completely committed on going, leave them with a high note. Do not throw them under the bus or try to put them out. I mean, I see managers do this all the time. You know, somebody wants to leave. I mean, they're your best friend. Well, they're there, but when they want to leave, and when they do leave, oh my gosh, these agencies are trying to sue them and they're trying to put them out of the business, and it's just terrible.
Alan, that's what happened to me and Jamal. You know, with our last IMO, of course, we won't mention name, but Frank knows the story. Mm-hmm. When me and Jamal was growing, we were getting great. We were working with each other. We wanted to build, and numbers were coming up. I mean, and then, you know, some things were happening where, you know, we just felt uncomfortable, so we wanted to leave. Those companies, they did things that nobody would have thought they'd be able to do, which is called carriers, and come up with stories. So we couldn't even get contract. We had to spend months and months. We had to spend months and months to prove to these carriers that all of it is just didn't exist. So that's the scary thing. I mean, we've been lucky enough. We haven't had any managers who wants to quit because they know they will never have a crazy, fun guy like me. You know, in my 50s, you know, tall, dark, and handsome, a little bit. You know, I'm cool. You know,
definitely crazy. Definitely crazy.
That's it. I'm crazy, just like Alan. I'm telling you, it's like, you know, and that's the key. You know, the key is like, look, I mean, and I on my morning calls, Alan, I say it as it is. And sometimes people get offended when I say, you are lazy. You know, you go back to Walmart or go back to Home Depot, work over there for a month or 2 months. You know how hard it is. And then come back to this industry, because if you don't have to buy your leads, if you don't have to care about your client, if you don't have passion and compassion, you will fail. You have to have passion for this job, for your drive, you know, for your dream. You have to have compassion for the people that you are dealing with every day. You will not succeed. Of course, you're going to have agents. Well, I have to buy 2 leads, 20 leads. It's hot. It's cold. It's COVID. Now, I know your time is very precious, Alan, and I don't want to abuse it. Hopefully, we get to talk more, you and I and Jamal. If this is, it's not a question, can you just give us your vision of this industry now that COVID is here, with the corona that might be here for a year or two? Where do you see the direction of this business going? Because we do most of our sales on telesales. You know, we moved all of our field agents to do it over the phone. We have the dialers. We generate hundreds of thousands of leads, you know. So where do you see this business going in the next, I wouldn't say 10 years, just the next 2 years?
Well, there's a couple of responses. First off, I think that the buying public is they're more interested in making sure that they're covered and maintaining their coverage now more than ever in my life, because you know, gosh, you turn the TV on, that's all you're hearing about is mortality. And so people want to make sure they've got their affairs in order. So a wonderful time for us to be in our space. I mean, we're all setting records. I mean, we've got call centers that are big partners with us at Integrity, and they are setting records. Oh my goodness, I can't get over how well the call centers are doing. But the same is going on in the street as well. Agents have figured out a way to work with folks safely, and people want to buy badly. So they're willing to talk to folks. And now, you know, we did create an opportunity for telesales with Columbian Life during the first. Actually, we completed it ready to go by the second quarter of this year with Columbian Life, and many companies have, because we feel like we have to adjust, because this is going to be this is going to become a bigger part of our industry. I believe that, call centers are going to become a bigger part of what it is that we're doing as we move forward. And I believe that the street sales will always be a very dominant part of our space as well. And because I see the number of bodies that we're putting in new recruits. Oh my gosh, it's just incredible how many people are coming into our industry. So yeah, I'm totally bullish on both telesales as well as our continued street distribution.
Thank you so much, Alan.
Well, you guys, I got to tell you, please share this. Let people know that this is something that a lot of people need to hear. This was a great conversation, Alan. Sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you so much for giving us your time and attention and your energy this morning and sharing that with our entire team. And Rita and I, we really, really want to let you know we appreciate that. And on top of that, Alan, I want to let you know that, this was fantastic. This was genuinely fantastic. There's a lot of takeaways here. And I really hope that we can have another conversation in the near future.
We'll look forward to it. I got to tell you, I'm at a point now. Listen, I do this because I enjoy it. I don't need to be here anymore, but this is the kind of thing I do enjoy. I love pouring into the future of our business. People that are dreamers, that have fire in their belly. As long as you have fire in your belly and you're ethical and you're willing to work hard and you love our business, I want to be there for you. I will pour into you and help you any way I can. So with that, my dear, I'll send it back to you all, and I will look forward to having another conversation at some point. And hey, as John Maxwell says, he likes to say, hey, my name is John and I'm your friend. Well, guess what, guys? My name is Alan and I am your friend. So I'm here
Alan,
for you and I'm cheering for you, and I'm a champion of your success.
Thank you.
We appreciate that, Alan, from the bottom of my heart. It's an honor, it's a pleasure. And I know you're a very busy guy. You took your time. We have some good managers listening in here, and a lot of them are sending notes and text messages to me. And, we are really looking forward to, growth, with the Integrity family and Frank Buse and, Tim and everybody out there at Senior Select. Thank them from the bottom of our heart. And, we're trying to accomplish, what we're trying to accomplish. And we honestly and truly appreciate that. Once in a while, I might shoot you a text or something to say, hey, let's talk about the Patriots or something. But,
Sure.
It's an honor and a pleasure.
And Frank, I also want to thank you for helping assist in setting this up as well. And I want you guys to have a fantastic rest of your day, everybody. It is a little bit later than it typically is for us to end these calls. But you guys, it is 8:45 a.m. Arizona time, and we're looking at 10:45 a.m. Eastern time. You guys, is Wednesday, is hump day. Let's get out there. Let's go make some money. Let's go help some families, and let's do what we need to do. Everybody take care. Have a fantastic rest of your day. And again, this is Results Over Reasons. I appreciate you, Alan. I appreciate you, Frank. I appreciate you, Rita. And I want to thank everybody that's live with us now and everybody that's going to be listening to this recording. Thank you, guys. Have a fantastic rest of your day.
God bless you all. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Onward and upward. Take care.